Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a major storm coming with bursts of snow, including severe weather and tornadoes. Then a major snowstorm develops. Good morning everyone, this is your March 9th update. And let's take a look at the overall surface map this morning because we got a lot going on. It's a busy map for March the 9th here. We've got showers coming in off the Pacific Northwest, heading into portions of Seattle and the Portland area. Los Angeles is at 50 degrees. We can see wind chill advisories up here in Billings, Montana, with some very cold Arctic air that's going to be plunging south over the coming days. All these areas in green in and around the Kansas City area, that's some winter weather advisories and winter storm watches for that area with some very heavy snow of 5 to 7 inches expected. But down to the south, we're in the warm sector still, and yes, we do have some tornado watches out this morning. There were unfortunately maybe a couple tornadoes in and around the Mobile, Alabama area. That has shifted off into Georgia this morning. You're still in the warm sector with a tornado watch, and all this rain and instability is heading up the East Coast, and it'll transfer to some snow as we get to later on this morning into the afternoon hours. So let's take a look at the tornado watch that's still going to be active. That first one did expire around 8 o'clock. This one continues through 1 o'clock this afternoon in and around the Tallahassee area and through Albany, going to Valdosta and through Douglas, going up. All these areas are going to be susceptible because the area is going to be rotating. There already were confirmed several tornado warnings, if not a confirmed tornado that was on the ground. So yes, definitely be on the lookout and be weather aware for the next several hours through 1 o'clock this afternoon for those couple of tornadoes possibly, including some quarter-size hail and wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. But as we extend the view through the rest of the day, there's your severe threat. So it just continues, I think, and extends further off into the northeast as we get deeper into the afternoon hours. So if you live in the Jacksonville area, into Tallahassee, going through Savannah, through Gainesville, all the way up through Columbia, South Carolina, you're going to be a little bit more susceptible to seeing some of those stronger thunderstorms for the rest of the afternoon. And it's going to dump some heavy rain along with it. Here's your tornado threat. So definitely if you live in the Tallahassee area, where some of these areas are already under that tornado watch currently through Columbus all the way through Columbia here, you're going to be a little bit more susceptible to see some of those rotating supercell thunderstorms. And yes, a couple tornadoes is definitely not out of the question. So be on high alert if you live in this area for the rest of this morning, and especially as you get into the afternoon hours, lifting up towards the East Coast. But as we get further up the East Coast, we're in the we transfer into the cold sector. So down to the south, we've got all that rain and instability later on this morning around 9 o'clock. And then all this transfers up to some snow. So we should be changing over to snow with that northwest flow, with that colder air aloft. Could be transferring over snow into South Ohio here, going into Pennsylvania, heading into North New Jersey here, into portions of Long Island and South Connecticut here as this continues to race across. This is going to be a pretty quick, burst of snow in the afternoon. So some of this snow could be moderate to heavy at times. So as we get into that 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I still think it goes on. So that's about a 4-hour window. You're going to be looking at several inches of snow in some of these areas, maybe 4 to 6 inches. But yes, definitely a quick burst of snow if you live in Pennsylvania here, upstate New York, getting into North Jersey, in and around Long Island, and around the New York City area, portions of Connecticut, into Massachusetts, into Rhode Island, into Boston, maybe South Vermont, New Hampshire, into portions of South Maine, as we get into later in this afternoon. But yes, as we get into the evening hours around 10 o'clock, here's the date on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, we're still dealing with that very heavy rain. I mean, you continue to remain in the warm sector. So maybe the severe threat probably has subsided a little bit, but still you're going to get those training convective thunderstorms. So definitely concerned about some flooding situation in portions of central and the panhandle of Florida here and just right along the coast here with some very heavy rain setting up, just not today, but over really the coming days, because we actually have another severe threat that's going to hit this same area on a Friday. But here's some of the totals from this burst of snow that's going to be impacting portions of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast today. Yes, we could be picking up a good 1 to 3, if not 4 inches, and a good chunk of Pennsylvania. And there's going to be a little band here, kind of this frontogenesis forcing here, that we could be looking at a little bit higher snow amounts, maybe just north of the Long Island here, but several inches in and around the New York City area. But some of these areas could pick up, again, 4 to 6 inches of snow. But if we got a pretty good wide swath of snow at easily 3 to 5 inches, if you live, into Connecticut, into Rhode Island, into Massachusetts, going into Boston area, a couple of inches, and there it is on, south of, Vermont, New Hampshire, and just kind of clipping portions of Maine here. But yeah, pretty good burst of snow with this snow setup, and this is all going to be today. So as we get transfer into tomorrow, our attention turns into the middle of the country, where we're looking at an Arctic front for March standards is going to be plunging south, and we're looking at these two, kind of pieces of energy that's going to be coming from Canada. This is the first piece of energy that's going to be kind of dragging down that Arctic air, and this separate second piece of energy, this upper level low, is going to be lagging behind the Arctic air. So in the middle, we're going to be looking at those. That's why they've got those winter storm watches and warnings in place right now for the midsection of the country. And these two systems will continue to race across and eventually somewhat kind of merge together. And as they do, getting into that Saturday time frame, that's going to develop a major snowstorm. And it looks to be a more of an interior type setup towards the mid-Atlantic states and the Ohio Valley, a little bit more rain along the East Coast, along the I-95 corridor with this particular feature. But we're going to highlight that in this this video. So let's kind of break this down. As we get into that Thursday afternoon time frame, there's the surge of the Arctic air. I mean, it's not, this is March, right? So it's pretty cold, but you're 20 to 30 degrees below normal temperatures. A 1032 Arctic high pressure. This is 1029 Arctic high pressure. There's the snow breaking out over Kansas, getting into parts of north Missouri here, back into Utah, going into Colorado. You still got the warm sector down here in the southeast. So there's the, still dealing with those heavier rain showers. Maybe not severe. Some of these could be isolated, marginally isolated severe on Thursday, but still you're dealing with that, heavy rain setting up over portions of the southeast. So as we get into that kind of Friday noon time frame, as this southern jet will be racing across into our southern plains here, that could be breaking out some snow into portions of New Mexico, getting into the Texas Panhandle, into the Oklahoma area, and now it transfers over to South Missouri and South Illinois here, where I think possibly along the Red River and say North Texas kind of gets clipped with this system, with more of a dusting to 1 inch from this particular snow event. With, again, as we still get into that Friday afternoon time frame, as this southern jet will race across, it's going to create more instability and more inclement weather. So as we get through, there's the temperatures, there's the noontime temperatures with that Arctic air plunging south. I mean, these are afternoon temperatures, folks. I mean, yeah, the freezing temperatures in Oklahoma. That's why it's going to be snowing, and portions of getting into portions of Texas in and around North Texas, kind of right along that freezing line. Your average high down here is about 67 degrees. So if you're talking freezing conditions at noon time frame on a March 11th, that's some chilly stuff. And that's why you're talking snow in this neck of the woods. But out here in the warm sector into the southeast, and especially as you get into Florida and this zone right here, that's going to be another concern for another round for severe weather as we get into the day on Friday. So yeah, another slight risk for severe weather in and around the Jacksonville area, into Mobile, back into Mobile, where they right along the airport there, they could have saw, looks like they had a confirmed tornado in and around the Mobile area airport this morning. back into Savannah, back into Gainesville. So those areas, it's kind of the same areas that got hit today are going to be hit on Friday with just another round for severe weather, and then the very heavy rain too. So this whole sector is very volatile over the coming days, with a lot of severe weather and just heavier rain, if not flooding rains, as we get into that Friday Friday afternoon time frame for the Florida Panhandle. And then let's take a look at the cold sector, because as this rides up, it's going to be tapping into some of that Arctic air, and it's going to be kind of setting up those kind of overrunning conditions. We have a 997 millibar low pressure. This is about 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning here. Going to be breaking out. The snow is going to be kind of winding down into portions of Arkansas. It might clip north Louisiana here, but north Mississippi, but especially some of those heavier snows are going to be breaking out into the Tennessee Valley, into Kentucky, and then this is Indiana, and as well as Ohio. Man, you're going to be picking up some pretty heavy snow from this event, and it's going to be entering the Pittsburgh area by the time we get into that 3 a.m. time frame on that Saturday morning. And that's just going to continue to lift up. You have kind of more of a double barrel low pressure system setting up the coast. It's going to be more rain off the East Coast, but it's an interior event. And this could be some pretty heavy snow. I mean, some of these areas could pick up a foot of snow easily with this system. It'd by far be classified as a major snowstorm for the interior mid-Atlantic states, back into West Virginia, into portions of DC, especially into central Pennsylvania, into upstate New York, getting into Vermont with that very heavy snow going to be breaking out by then. And then down to the south, there's the warm sector, and just more rain for Florida. And then, yes, as this continues to expand and as it goes into Saturday afternoon about 3 o'clock, the low pressure is still setting up off the coast. On the European model, kind of the same deal. So both models are kind of saying the same thing, more of an interior event with that heavy snow breaking out. And as we extend the view into kind of the overnight time frame on Sunday, that snow, those low pressure systems will be pushing further off the coast, and then you kind of have that wraparound effect. So we'll still be in that northwest flow, dragging down some of that Arctic air, and then winding down the snow event. But some of these areas, even on the backside, will be transferring all over to snow back then. So you're talking more places, yes, where you're in the in the rain sector along the East Coast. Now you're in the cold sector, but not those amounts won't be nearly as impressive as the initial push. So yes, back into say Long Island, getting into portions of Massachusetts and Connecticut, where you're seeing some of the snow this morning. You're going to be adding to those totals as we get into the overnight hours on Sunday. And then back to the northwest, that we have yet another system that's going to be impacting the Pacific Northwest. That's going to bring more rain for them up there, and then more snow for the interior regions. And I think as we just expand and get deeper into Sunday, that just drags down more cold air and bringing more snow into Idaho and to Montana, getting back into North Dakota, as the rest of us will start to warm up. So let's take a look at some of the preliminary rain amounts just between now and this weekend. So you're talking a lot of rain off the portions of the Pacific Northwest. This will dive southward. There's not much to speak of into the desert Southwest and much of California here, and really kind of much of Texas. You just kind of get clipped with this systems into the northern branch of North Texas and along the Red River. But down to the south in the warm sector, there's the heavier rains with those several rounds of severe weather and then very heavy rain setting up. So you're talking multi-inch totals easily down here, with a good 3 to 5 inches of very heavy rain setting up. And then once you get pulled further north, most of this will actually fall in the form of snow. As we get, over the next 4 days. And the European model's really kind of implying the same thing, maybe not as bullish off the Pacific Northwest and more of the Intermountain West, but definitely still bullish and kind of saying the same thing, with those very heavy thunderstorms kind of training across the same areas. And here's kind of the GFS update on the snow amount. So yeah, the Intermountain West gets hit pretty hard from these kind of congruent snowstorms. We got the snowstorm setting up in the midsection of the country, more snow back into Colorado. There's Kansas, back into portions of North Oklahoma. Yes, getting some snow, and I do feel at least a dusting 1 to 2 inches possibly into the Texas Panhandle, and then in and around the North Texas area with this particular system, kind of a wetter snow. So into Arkansas, into Missouri, and then once a little bit heavier amounts as you get pulled and have more deeper moisture to work with as we get into the Tennessee Valley, into Kentucky. But once we get into West Virginia, especially into PA, I think that's where we're going to be seeing some of those double-digit totals setting up, and some of these areas could actually be your biggest snowfall event of the year in some of these cities up here in PA and New York. And Vermont really getting creamed with this particular system. And here's the European, kind of says the same thing with more of an interior type of event with this particular snowstorm setting up over the coming days. But let's look at next week. So I think next week, this is March. I mean, we got, you got lots of ups and downs in March. It's a transition month. So we had predominantly a much colder air mass come through this week, and I think next week we have a rapid warm up, but we are going to be seeing subtle low pressure systems. This is Wednesday, the middle of March timeframe. On the 16th, we do have yet another low pressure system that's going to be developing off the southeast coast. That's going to be more instability and probably more heavy rain for this feature. And yes, some of these could turn severe at times. And then by Friday, the warmth kind of moves out and we have a little bit more cooler air mass filtering in. But yeah, whenever you see a trough kind of set up in the midsection of the country, you got warm all around it, that's going to be creating some instability, and those clashes of air masses bring more rain, and yes, probably more severe weather is probably going to be on the table even by the time we get into late next week. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video and definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.